everyone, Strangers103 here. Welcome back to yet another replay analysis. We're looking at Prime Ship playing in a Montana in a double battleship division. So unfortunately, we're already off to a bad start. I mean, it could be worse, could be triple battleship. But I mean, most people know that I am really against multiple battleships in a division. I think you just lose out the utility of pretty much anything else. But of course, you can always try to brute force stuff. But you're much easier to counter. If you have a bunch of cruisers spamming you down or a bunch of destroyers making your life difficult, it's pretty difficult. Now, it looks like someone's tier 8, so new matchmaking doesn't really change anything. It just means you got a higher chance to win. And, well, higher chance to not get screwed. I think someone... Cargo, no smoke. So, that's already something else that's kind of bad for us. But, actually, no, it's not. It's not a domination game, so no smoke. There is no real major problem with that. You know, torpedo exit reload booster can be quite useful actually for a cargo in a standard battle, but mostly you don't get standard battles. But anyways, we're off to a pretty bad start here with our guns. I do not recommend you do this. Point your guns somewhere useful, the way you want to turn them. So in this case, if you want to have guns on starboard, you're going to be heading in this direction to gauge targets crossing there. So we end up colliding with the Henri. So yeah, we're definitely not off to a great start over here, and we're retraversing guns across. Either our divmate is pinging us because he wants to go there, or something like that, but, well, 4 battleships, and 2 of them are tier 10, and bringing them both to the same area means you either breach the area, or you kind of hold the area, so it kind of depends on what the enemy team does, but when you have a matchmaking like this, and you're the only top tier battleships, you can't actually be passive. If you're passive at the start of the game, we're likely to find ourselves getting screwed. I wait 15 seconds for mem and why the logic is not a play, okay? Someone clearly expects to be getting instant games in a game this small. Maybe you should do like a giant ad campaign to get people to play the game and grind. Maybe you won't have a problem anymore then, huh? But anyways, this is a patch 0.7.4 replay, so it's not that far from when the... it's a replay from quite a while ago, so, you know... These changes would have been rather recent. Well, the matchmaking changes, I think were the same major patch. I'm actually not sure. Was it the major before that where it happened? But anyways, we've got a Zhao, and we're 2 minutes and a little bit in. We're finally able to open fire on something. Not the best shot in the world. It's a Zhao at long range, but then again, we might plunge on that and deal some decent damage. Our Conklol takes a bit of a hit. This is really bad for our turret management. It was reasonably aimed shot, so we do get a hit on him, which is a full pen, quite solid, but... we need to keep in mind here that if we want to be able to engage all our guns, we need to head at best in this kind of direction, which puts us at a mediocre angle to the Yamato as we're crossing his guns. So this is where having all the guns on starboard side would have been incredibly useful, because we can head like this, cut them off, and increase the amount of broadsides we have to engage them with. Anyways, looks like we might be trying to line up the Hipper. I wouldn't bother with the Yamato at that kind of an angle. The Misery could be something worth shooting at, but we're currently surface spotted, so we know there's a destroyer nearby. Zed was spotted, so it's slightly Benson or Shimmy. Missouri definitely is something worth shooting at. Good amount of lead there against a target that can do 33 knots. Good choice over there. Our Conqueror is taking a bit of a beating, but it's not really a major deal. But the problem is, right now, we're not making progress on the enemy team, and, well, I don't know. It's hard to really say. It's still too early of a development into the game. I'm pretty sure the Missouri tried to dodge all of our shots. He must have seen them coming. It's the Seat guy, so he was paying attention, so he easily dodged that, and, we unfortunately end up hitting nothing. It's a bit of a debated broadside there. At the moment, we're not really having a good time. We're kind of... I mean, the Conqueror's lost more than the Yamato in terms of percentage, but it's a Conqueror. He can kind of just heal it all back if he needs to be, as long as he's not being hard-focused too much. But he needs to kind of get a little bit more distance. We're on full HP over here, so... you can see the enemy is kind of hard-blobbing this area. They've got a lot of firepower down there. And this is definitely where I feel that just going like this, having guns on starboard, and using that island to cover ourselves, and then crush the northern side of the map, due to that being our primary force, is definitely the better thing to do. Sure, our force is currently breaking through, but having the support of tier 10 battleships certainly would have been incredibly useful over there. Launching a scout plane here to try to counter the Minotaur inside the smoke screen. Yeah, it's a Minotaur. So, shots on the way. Our Conqueror is getting seriously hammered, and it's almost certainly the Shimmy is somewhere near here, so we need to be careful of that. And this is kind of the problem of not having either a radar or a destroyer in your division, and this is why having just battleship in your division is generally a very bad thing to do. And we're feeling the effects of that already. We're not actually able to push, we're not able to exert pressure, we're not able to do anything useful, and thankfully it's just the Benson currently that we know of, so we're instantly turning towards the engage that he's going to smoke up, get a line on him and either shift X him or something, we might lose spotting on him. He's not going forwards. He's definitely trying to slow down in the smoke screen. So shots on the way. Let's see what happens with him. I think we aimed a little. Oh no, we actually got a good shot off. 6 overpens against a Benson is definitely quite nice. Thankfully for us, the shimmy gets spotted off in the distance. Pretty sure we noticed that. Looks like our Henri is going Hydro on, so you might be considering rushing that. But if that Henri is currently spotted, he's going to have a really, really bad time of it, most likely. And there we go, we did blast half the Benson away. And he's currently hydroing him, so that's a good job by the Henri. The Benson is currently reversing. That's a little bit on the overlead end. He is unlikely to continue reversing like that, unless he really has a death wish. But we just need to hit him twice and he's gone. And guess what? We only hit him once. But North Carolina nails him, and our Henri is kind of being locked into a broadside due to the torpedoes, so he might have a really, really bad day with the entire enemy team there. Our Conqueror did make it out there alive, but I wouldn't say he's alive and well. He's obviously healed up a bit, but he's heavily pressured, so he can't actually do any kind of engagement until his heal is online. Plane goes down, might make it a bit easier for us to figure out what the lead is. I'm pretty sure we're aiming it for the Grosser first here. You can see that we're pointing there. It's just at the replays locking the Misery. We're obviously not shooting in the Misery here. We are trying to shoot at the Grosser in the back. Let's see where the shells land, and in fact they do land on them, and you can see that in the replays. If the sight is like this, then yeah, you definitely have the right target locked. But we need to start making some pressure, keep these enemy Kerfuffles away. Zed and Shimi are elsewhere. We're not making progress on the other side of the map. We can't sit here on full HP. We need to start using this health to achieve something with it. Looking for the Minotaur. He's smoked up. We did 5 overpens against them earlier. Not the best salvo against them, but we get a bit unlucky and probably just all of them landed too high. Another shot off. Not a badly aimed one there. Dispersion might screw us though. I'm not sure. See what happens when they arrive. And we get a deflection on him. It was slightly angled, I think. Not amazingly angled, but he definitely was. But anyways, it looks like instead of trying to deal with that, at this point, we're basically losing. We've lost an Henri, we've lost a Shimmy, they've lost a tier 9 Baltimore, by the way, and we've lost a Kagero. So we're down to 1 Xian Yang, and this is a guy whining in chat, so I wouldn't count him for any value whatsoever. And, well, they lost a Baltimore, which can be awkward on this map, and this guy's screwed, he's got no HP left. And our guys up there aren't really making progress. And there we go. Much better salve against the Minotaur this time. Much, much, much better. And his post is unlikely to last much longer. But unfortunately, our Prince Eugen gets taken out. And this is what I mean. Just if we'd gone there in the opening stage of the match, engage the sides of them, and then just cut off the enemy forces over there, that would have been a much better situation for us generally to be in. So we're pretty much just stuck in a rather awkward kiting situation right now. I didn't catch exactly the amount of damage we lost there, but it wasn't the Yamato that shot us. So, yeah, aiming for the hip, the Minno's still alive, the Misery's got a lot of health. The problem here is that our top tier battleships don't really have health, as much health left, and the enemy team, if they're spamming HE at us, yes, that includes the Yamato, can pretty easily kill us, given sufficient amounts of concentration of firepower. But for the moment, we're kind of just kiting away, and at this point, we've definitely kited away by far too much. Montana doesn't die that fast, and a Montana with a North Carolina, with a Conqueror, can do a lot of suppression against an enemy force like this. Already taken out half the hip, but, well, he's not necessarily the biggest deal here. He's not the biggest problem, and we're kind of just losing terrain at the moment. Our guys on the other side are trying to push through, so it's not completely screwed, but it's not necessarily optimum either. So we're finally realizing we need to slow down, we need to actually get ourselves closer, while we can still, we're able to still do this while maintaining angle, and their Kerfuffle has survivability expert, so I wouldn't count him for much either. But we just need to get closer to them, and the safest way to get closer to that really is just a reverse towards them. Our North Carolina deletes the hipper, or the remnants of the hip, and our Conqueror is currently taking a fight that he doesn't want to sustain. Minotaur finally shows up, and I think we overlead slightly over there. Actually, no, it was a decent shot. I don't think we're going to get the kill, though, unless we get really lucky with our dispersion, and guess what? We get really lucky with our dispersion. So that's the Minotaur done. He blew a smoke screen. He probably had some torpedoes on the way. I wouldn't be too surprised if that happened, but we're finally in position where we're able to push back. Our Conk is more than keen on firing HE, so if anything, we should just do the exact same thing, load skill. We're not spotted, which means the enemy destroyers, the Zed didn't find a fancy to going down mid, which wouldn't be a bad choice for him, but you can also just stick around and try to torp down the Dimitri Sky and a Minotaur. Let's see, we're taking another shot off it, which is, okay, he's screwed now, so that's bad for us because we only have 2 battleships left. Our Conqueror is not in a good spot, he's in a really horrible spot, he's on low HP, he doesn't have the heal sustainability, and if we push in and die, it's pretty much going to be the exact same result for us. But we're finally making progress against the enemy battleships, finally decided that we are actually going to go and try to deal with them. So we're able to use our top tier battleship for something. That's angled, both of them are kind of angled. I probably would just fire at the Missouri's main battery, then swap into skill ammo. Curvis is slightly poorly angled, but at this point we definitely need to focus on killing something. And a survivability expert Curvis that's kind of still far away, I wouldn't necessarily deem the biggest threat of all time. So 11.1k damage off him, and now we're turning our main battery turrets to engage North Carolina. We need to make our minds up on something. We're losing our number 3 and 4 turrets' ability to engage, and we've pretty much at this point just written off our Conqueror as dead. He is. Even if he has a super heal, he's taken too much bleed damage earlier. And again, not focusing fire on something, not deciding on something to pick on. That's a stock North Carolina. I mean, sure, we can probably wipe him with 3.5 citadels, but that clearly ain't gonna happen. So now we're back to position, well, we need to run again. And there goes our Conqueror, so we should have taken the risk and just hard broken away and ran. Because now we're getting into a fight we don't really want to be taking. It's 1 versus 3. I mean, sure, we can potentially do a lot of damage, but at this point, we're pretty much conceding defeat at this point. That's kind of the general downside of a setup like this. We've kind of hung our Conqueror all out to dry. I mean, we can definitely close past down the Missouri and get rid of him. But North Cal's angled. Yamato is either going to be dealing with the stuff in front of him or going to try to pick a fight with us, but at this point, we basically just need to close past the Misery down and get rid of him. And again, our number 3 turrets, our back turrets, are going to be completely out of combat for the next minute and perhaps a bit more. Missouri aims absolutely perfectly against us, gets a good damaging shot. We need to trigger that heal early, and there it is. This is slightly on the underlead end. I would aim a little bit more further ahead than this. But we get rather lucky. We do get rid of the Missouri. He misses up his angling, and there we go. We take the North Carolina broadside, but he aimed it really weakly as well. We do actually get our number 3, 4 turrets into combat, but we basically at this point we need to push the Curfus at a 45-degree angle and aim for his citadel shots, and he's got too much health. Sure, we can kind of try to DPM him down, but at this point the enemy team is pretty capable of getting back into this game. They've got 2 destroyers left. We have 1. Granted, our guy just finds theirs, but we also need to be careful of our angle right now. We're not showing it optimally. Curfus gets a really poorly aimed shot off. He needed to aim for number 1 magazine. He could have done a lot of damage. But we're beating up on the enemy Gossa Curfus right now. We do not turn for the North Carolina. Focus fire. The North Carolina is no threat whatsoever to us. We're perfectly angled against him. We need to engage and destroy the enemy Gossa Curfus. Big mistake over here. Never, ever, ever, ever do something like this. You always want to focus fire on the biggest threat in front of you. We're currently leaving the North Carolina, the Gossa Curfus to die to the secondaries, but we're not even making a decision now. So, well, at this point, commit to the decision. You're broadside to the North Carolina, so get rid of him before he gets re-engaged guns. But again, very lucky double fire, and we do kill the North Carolina. Big spot of luck over there. Damage controlling here is absolutely the right thing to do. The Gossa Curfus is currently being bled down. He makes a really poor salvo and doesn't manage to get us. We get a very lucky double strike in close quarters that we should never have gone for in the first place. We should have finished off the Gossa Curfus and then turned around to deal with the North Carolina. Again, another case of focus fire, and at this point, the enemy team has actually thrown away a sufficiently large amount of things that they can we can actually potentially get back into this game. Our Minnow's decently healthy, but unless he's a radar Minotaur, then, well, we're not actually going to be able to deal with the shimmy that's on the enemy team unless he really throws the game. So, well, we're still buggered. So, yeah. Anyways, Yamato in the distance. I mean, we got a plane, and it's definitely the right plane to use, in my opinion. No reason not to shoot. I mean, we're in range, so we might as well. Altago's taking large amounts of damage, lots of torpedoes in the water, and I see a smoke screen down there, so I have a fish. Let me see if I can't. Does this work? Let's see. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a Minotaur smoke screen. There we go. Trying to aim this out. I think that's under lead. Actually, I'm not really sure about that. I don't play US battleships enough to know, but it looks slightly on the underlead, and if he's sailing in a straight line to try to close a distance, but it turns out he's trying to turn a little bit, which might just bleed him sufficient speed for us to land the shells on him. But, let's see. Where are they? Yeah, they were under. I'm pretty sure they were under, but, trying to close a distance against them right now, definitely the better thing to do. Out the same amount of aim and lead over there. I'm actually not sure. We're not tracking salvos at all, so I'm just going to have a look for myself to see what's going on. There you go. That's a Actually, it was a really good looking salvo, and nope, 1/10. Otto goes down, but it's not a major deal to lose an Otto like this. What matters right now is our Minotaur, and if he's unable to kill off the enemy Shimi, well, we're basically screwed. Minotaur is trying to poke the Yamato, but that's not really what's needed. What's needed is him to be radar to be able to get rid of the enemy Shimi. And we're turning our attention to the Yamato right now. This is absolutely fine. Trying to shoot the Zhao it's an awkward thing to try to shoot a Zhao. But at this kind of a 20-kilometer range, we're not citadeling a Yamato. And there we go. 3 deflections, 1/10. Kind of the result you'd expect, and at this kind of range, I probably would just have swapped into our HE and trying to spam them with that. Of course, if we hit the 32mm of upper side belt armor, that's obviously going to result in good damage, but he is still kind of broadside, so we can definitely just continue to try to poke him. Anyways, our next heal is up. We've got 3 more, so I would personally use the heal right now, because that way we can get another one ready, so that when we enter combat, we'll have a full amount of heal ready and a full combat health, if you want, available for us. Yeah, it's not optimum amounts of healing. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm not sure the Yamato is actually pushing forwards. I think that's slightly on the overlaid end of things. Looks like we're trying to look over the map, and there we go. They're slightly on the overlaid end, but hey, 1/10 on his bow, so that's a bit unfortunate. But the reason the heal should be used here is because it'll get us back up to what, like 36k, 37k health-ish? Maybe even around 40,000 health. And basically, we're triggering the cooldown. So if we use this 30 seconds ago, we'd be cooling down with 1 minute left to go. We'd have the health to go with. The adrenaline rush isn't really important at this point, because look at our health, with 30,000 health. That means 2 torpedoes kill. Getting us up to just short of 40 means that 2 torpedoes is survivable. And this is actually rather important at this stage of the game, because we have a Shimi left. Each torpedo can do up to 23,000 damage, depending on which one he has, but let's just assume 24,000 damage. We got a 38 or 30-something% torpedo bulge was a 28, so not amazing. Minotaur, I think he got away with a dodge, which is rather important. But he's being pressured into the corner, so that's bad for him. And the enemy team has the capture point, the victory point advantage, because they are up a ship. So unless we're able to kill off a ship and then survive, unlike a situation for the Minotaur, we basically need to count the fact that we need to kill 2 enemy ships because we're going to lose our Minotaur, and that's the only way we can still maintain points superiority. And that kill we need to obtain is the enemy Yamato, who is doing the right thing, just chasing off the Minotaur. Get him out of the corner and then run to the corner itself, and 2 minutes 44 is not enough for us to get into the capture point to do anything useful. And the Shimi can always just, get our flank and make our life incredibly difficult. We can't shoot over that island. So at this point, we need to be careful. We take 2 torpedoes from the Shimi, we go down immediately. We take any torpedo from the Shimi and lose our damage control party, the Zhao's gonna melt us. And we can't really face the Yamato in a head-on fight, unless we're spamming HE. And there we go, we're using our heal now, so Minnow don't die, we win. Well, unfortunately, that's not up to you to decide. The enemy Shimi, that is up 100% up to the enemy Shimi to decide whether he lives or dies. And of course a little bit of Yamato aim. It turns out that the enemy team's not even engaging him at the moment. If he's unspotted, then that's a giant mistake by the enemy's Shimi. Unless of course our Minnow's actually radar, in which case if the Minnow trades the Shima, we still have a chance to win. Because again, equal trades go in our favor. So asking him if his smoke isn't really the right or useful thing to ask. It's more like, do you have radar? If not, you're screwed. And Shimi isn't playing for win team. Well, currently, you're winning, because that Minotaur is gonna die. Correction is dead. And we didn't get the Yamato kill. So, now we basically have 2 options. Either we try to focus the Zhao and make him F off, or we try to focus the Yamato and kill him. Now, currently, none of them are gonna stay spotted, because they're more than just far enough away. The Yamato is running a full concealment spec, so we can't keep up to him. And the Shimi is likely going to come torpedo us. And we've got 1 minute left. The Zhao lived. So we're screwed. But, Zhao decided to open fire, so he's actually going to stay spotted. So if we get lucky, we can kill him. But that would be a victory based on luck. So, I mean, obviously take it. But, I wouldn't aim like that. The moment he sees shells inbound, he's going to turn away. So I would have aimed a little bit more up to over him. I mean, at this point, there we go. We actually would have need 1 Citadel plus 1/10, but all we get is 1/10, so we get 1 more salvo. And it really is a question of, Can we kill anything? One more shot. Yeah, that's not going to be a kill for us. And the Zhao has managed to disengage. So, actually, they've all managed to disengage. So, we're screwed. Yep, it's game over. We lost. They're going to win on points. So that's rather unfortunate. 290,000 damage. But let's be completely fair here. That was 200,000 damage done too late. We were not in the correct position in the early stage of the match. That shot is not going to arrive on time. And hey, we spot the shimmy that we could not have possibly deleted because the game's about to end. So Yamato Salvo arrives just at the end of the game, but he picks up his Confederate off us actually, so good for him. But basically, we were not relevant for the first 13-ish minutes. We were not relevant. Our Conqueror lost way too much health, so he was not relevant. He was sure able to spam a little bit of HE, but that's not relevancy. That's basically him throwing away HP that he'll need for the later stages of the game. And we never really tanked for him, so we ended up having 2 heals left in the game, which we used our second last heal in the last combat stage, but it at that point was irrelevant. The enemy shimmy screwed up by not finishing off the Minotaur, but the enemy Sao and Yamato did the right thing by finishing off the Minotaur, so that basically completely screwed us over. Even if the Minotaur had smoked, it wouldn't have mattered. The only way for us to win at that late stage of the game, after we finally got ourselves into a relevant position, was if we had not a smoke Minotaur, but a radar Minotaur, and he actually trades the shimmy. Because in that stage, we maintained the points, and, well, they have to come to us, and they don't have the threat of a destroyer anymore, even though in this case, the destroyer wasn't exactly of a great competence. Because there definitely were periods of time where that Minotaur were not being spotted by the enemy's shimmy, and turned out the shimmy would actually come back to try to torp us, and he didn't even torp us, so that's a spot of luck. Not like it really would have changed the outcome of the game. But anyways, to begin this off, we were incredibly slow with getting our turrets facing anywhere useful. We were indecisive on whether we wanted guns starboard or guns port. This is a very important early game decision to make because it does kind of determine where you want to go to maximize your early game firepower. And with a battleship, in my opinion, early game trades is really important. In standard battles, not as much, but in domination battles, you definitely want to be able to get yourself in a relevant position to either force enemy cruisers to head away, and a Montana is incredibly good at this due to the 12-barrel broadside, and of course the rather accurate guns that can deal lots and lots of potential damage to cruisers, especially if you catch them off broadside. And for that, you want to be around about 15-16 kilometers away in their cruiser firing range, but also it's kind of in a range where if they don't react early enough, they're going to be caught in a really bad angle when your shells actually arrive. Of course, if they're paying attention, you're not doing anything with your slow shells. So I personally would have recommended guns to starboard and heading straight to where the edge of the B cap would have been once we saw the enemy team ship lobbing A. They sent 2 tier 10 battleships, 1 tier 9 battleship down there, and eventually ended up with a tier 8 battleship down there as well. They blobbed all 4 of their battleships down there, and we didn't actually engage them. In fact, the enemy team held most engagements on their favor. We were pushing down the northeastern side through Charlie side where domination flags usually are. And of course, we lost that match because a kiting group of Zhaos and whatnot is easily going to screw that over. The Shimmy and the Zed, of course, also being there did not really help. So us being in the middle, it puts us at risk of being torpedoed by a Shimmy, but it's still perfectly fine. Our Conqueror kind of ended up getting way too close, and I'm not sure if he potentially had a rudder jam or not, which kind of made him do a weird circle and stay in combat range. I don't know. But he was unable to actually achieve too much, it seemed. He spammed a little bit on the Yamato, but that's not useful damage. Useful damage is damage against cruisers. Useful damage is damage against anyone that's actually pushing, not against the Yamato sitting there. And we were not able to follow up against the damage of the Yamato, and we saw the Yamato was one of the people that survived to the very end of the game. If we've been working together, we've been tanking for the Conqueror, and the Conqueror had been behind us spamming HE, or even if they're angled, we spam HE as well, it is incredibly important to keep in mind. If you can't deal damage with AP, there's no point in shooting AP. Battleship HE is nothing to scoff at. Even a Montana's HE shell, I think there's 1,881 damage on a full penetration, unlike the almost 3,000 that the Conqueror does or something silly. But 2k damage with HE is still 2k damage with HE that you would have gotten either nothing or 1,350 from an overpen from. On top of the fact that you'll be setting fires, or you'll be priming fires for your Conqueror, so you get better team synergy by spamming HE with your Battleship division like that. And of course, you'll break stuff. Against Kerfus, that can be useful if you end up getting in secondary range. You can break your secondaries before he gets in combat, reducing the secondary output that he'll be able to push against you. Speaking of pushing, the Conqueror pushing early before us, I think that was a lack of communication between our division there. If we pushed in first, tanked a bit more damage, maybe the Conqueror could have had a slightly less worse time of it. Chances are, if he gets spotted, he's still going to get focused. It's a battleship group we're dealing with. They have more than enough firing range to just focus down him. We did get very unlucky with the Minotaur at the start, but then we get rather lucky on the Minotaur, so I guess half a dozen, 6 the other. But, we ended up killing him, and he wasn't too relevant that game, at least not in my opinion. He was poking battleships, so not really great result for the enemy Minotaur. Good thing we got rid of him, saved us the bother of having to deal with him at 10 kilometers of range, where we also have to deal with being constantly torpedoed, and of course the threat of being torpedoed by shimmies as well. Even though the enemy shimmy wasn't, like I said, amazingly relevant in the later stages of the game, he definitely was relevant in the early stages of the game, breaking up our push against their back. So basically, we ended up at the first 10, 13 minutes of the game, we were too far away from combat, and by the time we re-entered combat, we lost too much. We didn't have our Conqueror alive, our Divmate ended up being focused and eliminated, and in that fight, we were very indecisive, and this is probably the most important thing. Decide on something and stick to it. Whether it's a good thing, whether it's a bad thing, a bad plan executed perfectly is much better than the perfect plan executed too late. Perfect is the enemy of good enough. So pick something, stick to it, and keep going. And if you do get yourself caught, what did you say was the first thing you're going to do? Alright, I was going to focus on this ship. I was going to focus on the Missouri, or I was going to focus on the Kerr first. Keep focusing on him, and try your best to angle against everything else. In this case, we do get lucky to kill the North Carolina when he had our broadside, but we gave him broadside for a lot of time. We do get rather lucky that the Missouri failed to angle in against us on time. We did aim quite decently against the enemy's seat Missouri. We do kill him off. Good result for us. If we had failed to get these, we likely would have just died at this point. And of course, the Grosser for sailing flat broadside and allowing us to deal lots and lots of damage to him was also rather a spot of luck that in general just should not have been something that happened. Us pushing into 3 ships should have been the end of us. That should have been a complete game loss at that point. So don't try to count on this kind of luck, and don't try to count on this kind of silly push at the a desperate last minute push. Rather try to stay close enough once we confirm the shimmy and the Zedra on the other side. We did kill off the enemy Benson. Just reverse towards the enemy. It might look stupid, but it works. And you can spam HE at them. And you'll be able to use your health to trade the enemy's health without trading too much of your position. And they're going to have a hard time pushing a angled kiting Montana. Is, believe it or not, a very difficult thing to get rid of. Any kind of battleship that's kiting, unless it's a Conqueror and you spam HE at it, is very difficult to dislodge like that, especially one that actually has some quite decent armor. And in this case, also very threatening firepower. The enemy it's unlikely they would have pushed towards us. And of course, if we're worried about the Yamato, we can always just turn around, point our guns to the other side of the ship, to the left side of the ship, angle that way while still engaging the pushing ships while having our tail end completely facing the Yamato. It's unlikely he's going to be able to get any significant amounts of damage against us, so we're not showing anyone any our broadside, because all the enemy also decided to blob their battleship to the same flank and lose any crossfire potential that we actually had at the early stages of the game, but never actually managed to capitalize on. So there you go, more or less a strategic kind of talk, other than a individual talk. Individually, we didn't make too many mistakes on our individual play. Aim was quite solid throughout the entirety of the game. Our angling was decent up until the point we pushed 3 enemy ships, but that's not an individual deal, that's a strategic deal. We just did not consider the strategic situation correctly. We got lucky though, but in the end, luck couldn't hold up, and we failed to win the game. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this replay analysis. Quite a long post-battle talk in this one. I hope you enjoyed this. Take care, hope you learned something, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye!